Hello, everybody. Welcome to Marvel Studios Animation Panel. Alex Sharp from the Marvel Studios Animation team. I think 2021, Marvel Studios released its first animated series, What If? And got an Emmy nomination. This year we followed it up with some animated shorts. Am Groot. We're really privileged to work with some amazing storytellers that really helped us get into animation, and I'm very pleased to welcome director and executive producer Bryan Andrews for What If. And writer, director, and executive producer on Am Groot, Kirsten Lepore. And before we get started, we've got a little video to show you all.
You know the stories, but what if one thing changed everything? That doesn't sound ominous at all. On August 11th, expect the unexpected. It cannot be. Let's be honest, we've been through weird. And ask yourself the question, what if?
It appears we have a common enemy.
I guess I have to freestyle then. Streaming August 11th, only on Disney Plus.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
Now streaming.
So starting back in 2008 with Iron Man 1, Marvel Studios is mostly known for its live-action films. I kind of want to start off with how did you both get into animation, and kind of what was your journey to getting into Marvel Studios?
You want to start, Brian? Journey into animation. I watched cartoons as a kid a lot, and I drew like a lot of kids do, me and my brothers, and we just never kind of stopped. And then when we got older, we always loved filmmaking, whether it was live action or animation. And we figured at some point, like, we want to do this. But we had no idea how to do like live action stuff either. It felt like a weird mystery. Like adults just did it, and you went to the theater and there it was. We had no idea how to make that happen. But I figured if I always knew how to draw, I could and I had a great filmmaker camera, I could make my own animation. Then we found out in college, there's another college that can teach you how to animate. It was CalArts. And you could make a good living being an animator. Like, really? That's crazy. We don't have to just work some random place. We can do what we love. And so we followed that path and kept going on, and that's what also nurtured our love of both, all forms of storytelling, but of not only the live action, but specifically the animation. And that was during the beginning of the new golden age of animation. So Little Mermaid is coming out, and Disney was all over our college trying to hire people. And then most of my upperclassmen would like to become Pixar gods, like Pete Docter, so the guys my upperclassmen. It's look at you guys go, that's cool. So that's how I kind of got into it. And then time went by, and I started doing boards for not just animation, but live action. And that kind of brought me to Marvel. So I've been working on Marvel movies, doing the big action set pieces since officially since Iron Man 2, unofficially since Iron Man. And when it came time to do the animation stuff, they knew I was always doing both. And they were like, "Hey man, you want to work on something cool?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, what do you got?" And then here we are.
Yeah, for me, it was a similar thing in childhood where it's I loved stories. I always loved animated movies, but for me, it was more just okay, I happen to love drawing, I happen to love music. My mom was a teacher, and I happen to love craft and just build lots of cool things. So animation kind of felt like the perfect place to combine all of those things, to wish to tell stories. So I was always interested in it. I started experimenting with stop motion, like on the family camcorder, similar thing. It was like, at that point you could only press start and stop on the red button. So I would just be like, start, stop, and like those are like the tightest where like you get to try to approximate summation. That's sort of where I started trying it out. And then I illegally pirated Macaroni Flash in high school, and that really helped me learn like the basics of animation. And then that's when I started to do some 2D. And then went off to undergrad. I went to a school called MICA in Baltimore. And I was like they just started the animation program, and I was like the first graduating class in that major. So they were figuring a lot of stuff out, but it's kind of nice to like figure it out with them. I was able to get some nice shooting space for stop motion because there weren't that many people doing it. And then I also went to Keller. I went to Keller's for grad school because I felt like I needed a lot more. There's a lot missing, I think, from that fledgling department of education at MICA at the time, and then it was great to go to Keller and sort of fill out the rest of that knowledge, and have recently moved out here, which is really where the industry that I wanted to get part of was. And then I just was sort of like freelancing, doing little jobs here and there that kind of slowly grew until I got a brief from Marvel. Actually, had a general meeting with Brad of your mom. And like he was so cool, and I was like, "This is great. This is not at all what I expected the Marvel executives to be like." And then shortly after, here's this brief, and so I'm here.
Bryan, how did the idea of What If come to be?
It kind of came from Brad. They had the comics, obviously, and they wrote the comics way back in the day, and I read them as a kid because back in the 70s because of that bull. But I loved it then because it was basically Marvel's way of doing a Twilight Zone, which I also loved and would watch all the time because I was constantly on TV. And Brad had this idea out of freaking blue, but I got that call, and that's when he was like, "Well, we're cool." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What if animated?" I'm like, "Ooh." So questions, and you need to figure out some answers exactly what it could be. And then that's what he said. It's like, because he'd been talking to Kevin, and it was kind of like Brad's like little pet project on the side, because Brad got into films and producing and all that stuff, but he originally also just always had a love for animation, huge love, and he actually went to like art school in New York. So he started off being like an artist, and then he was like, "This is maybe." I paraphrase. I don't know if that's really what he was saying. I'm trying to remember how he told the story, but anyways, but then he eventually got with Marvel, and I think his first name at Marvel was like being a indie guy, like tracking the cinematic universe, and he just had really great notes and things, and Kevin was just like, "You're awesome," and like he kept moving up, and apparently he had amazing notes on like Thor 2, trying to make that like not be bad, and Kevin was just like, "You," and the next thing you know, he's just like producing movies, right? Like what was his first film? It wasn't Ant-Man 1. Anyway, but he always loved animation, so he had this idea, and let's spin it off the cinematic universe and not just do the comics animated. So let's do news stories, because everyone knows the cinematic universe right now. So we can spin off that. Or like, what if Penny Carter got the super serum and all that stuff? What if those idiot dudes from the space got the wrong kid and they got T'Challa instead of Peter? So we got to riff on some really fun, cool things. But it all started real.
And I consider myself lucky because I think I got to watch first sizzles you made, which has some really cool what if scenarios that I think we've seen in those things. I think we've kind of touched every little aspect of that.
Yeah,
sizzle from years ago.
Was that super mini sizzle like 10,000 years ago to like help prove to Kevin that it could be a thing?
Exactly.
So that was before we even did any real thought as to what the stories could be. We're just like, what's insane? So we had it was like Black Panther with Doctor Strange's cloak and the Eye of Agamotto. We had like Loki with it. That was the final image was worthy Loki with like the lighting and all the craziness. And that was one where we had like Steve like as the Winter Soldier, like in the 40s, like meeting Peg like after the war was over, and Becky's like, I'm like, what's up? And like something's weird, like he's like, yeah, like the shirt rips, he's got Winter Soldier on, like really dumb shit, but stuff that was like in an instant you get it. Like this is not what I wrote them, or this is not how it is. Yeah, and it was enough to get Kevin to go like, okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah. That's not how Kevin talks. that's Lord Mike.
And you board for the whole thing.
Yes, yeah, that one because we just needed something to show the trio, Kevin, Lou, and Victoria, and we were just like, ah! Hopefully, it worked because we went on and did other things, so that was good.
Kirsten, similar question. How did Am Groot come about?
I Am Groot, yes. It started with that brief that came to me where I think Brad and Martin knew that they wanted to be a baby Groot show. I was immediately excited about it because I think of all the MCU characters and superheroes, Groot resonates house with me because I'm a plant lover, and I love to do cute things. It's in a lot of my other work, so I feel like this is a really good fit. And I basically just pitched on it. I think several people pitched on it to direct it. And so I just tried to put my own spin on it in that treatment that I got signed up after. And I was shocked when I think I also had to there are different levels. And I had to count it too. It was they're rocking. But ultimately, they went with me, which very delighted and also surprised. And then we've kind of just been working on it ever since.
So why a collection of shorts and not a single narrative series?
Yeah, especially in that early brief, there were kind of a lot of different directions that it could go. We did explore the idea that it'd be kind of this bigger adventure over 5 episodes, but ultimately we decided that it was a lot more fun when we could break it up into 5 shorts and kind of have it doesn't matter what order you watch it in. I think that's also better for kind of having a family. I'm oh yeah, you can't let the kid to sit through this arc, So it's kind of nice that they're all sort of these one-off things, and we get to just jump around in time and also in space as well, which is really fun. So we just get to the planet for 1 episode, and then we get to have fun on that planet, and have to get to go back to the ship for another one. So it was really just such an infinite sandbox to play with this character.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the creatures that we've never seen before in the MCU that you got to introduce?
Yeah, really, really proud of the creatures that we got to create for this. That will now forever be in the MCU and are very weird and specific. One of my favorites is this the squirrel bird character. His name is involved out of a name. Inspired by kind of a Salacious Crumb, Star Wars type character. But we always wanted him to be very often in that way. So that character's a lot of fun, and I also find it to be just very beautiful. This rainbow gloomy stuff. That's the one that appears in where he takes a bath. And then there are these other little characters that we created called Runs, which you kind of reference back to the comics, but they're just these little guys with 4 eyes, and I'm especially proud of them because they kind of just feel like something that maybe comes from one of my short films that we got to sneak into the MCU. But I think they're a fan favorite, and
Then I remember during the design phase of the Grunts, it was very important that they had great little butts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of notes about their butts.
Yeah. There's a lot of. I feel over the course of all our episodes, it's a lot of notes about things I like, butts, food, all kinds of. So it's fun to keep all these stuff in the shorts.
Bryan, there's thousands of Marvel stories and thousands of Marvel characters to choose from. How did you decide what characters and stories to do for season 1 of What If?
Good question. Because it's true, there's so many. Where do you start? I think to start with our personal preference, us and our writers, and certainly how the writers and a grad, and just be the 4 of us just cracking all this stuff. We knew we wanted to do something retro first that was kind of Steve Rogers based, but not necessarily Steve Rogers, and we're trying to figure that out very quickly. Kevin, I think, was Penny Farthing's got to get to see her roll at Kev's. I still won't. And then early on, also somehow we just stumbled upon the idea of T'Challa Star Lord. It's just it's such it just screams a bit.
Yeah.
So, and then just kept building. It was embarrassing of riches. We had too many ideas. So, I think for Kevin, like we created like 30, if not more, but I think it was around 30 possible episode ideas. It was a bunch, and all of them were like, cool, we love Tom. And he was going to whittle it down to like, 10 or 9, whatever the season was going to be. And he even had too hard of a time, so he whittled it down to like 14, total 14. He was like, you guys got to figure out the rest. And it's funny because his little numbering system or whatever, it's like there were so many that he didn't choose that were basically still worthy of being chosen, that a few of those actually were probably going to just hold over and try again for like a season 2. And then we had to whittle it down that final thing. It was so hard. But it's funny too because like I think 1 or 2 of the ideas might be showing up in season 3. I think we talked about season 3. Not surprise! There's going to be a little bit of a season 3, but there's one that I was dying to do. Actually, 2 dying to do way back when, and they're finally happening. So it's like, and the same thing. We're trying to figure out season 2. We started again with another 30, and it's just like, oh my God, this is so many, and they're too good. Like I was just like, you guys figure it out. He whittled it down, but he can never get to the 9. You know what I mean? Which is just a testament to the creative mindset. It's embarrassing.
And I remember back in the office, you guys just had a huge board of ideas and art and comic images to kind of generate inspiration.
Totally. And then as soon as we started locking in on the one that we knew we were pretty much going to do, because also it was still somewhat early days, so we would get Ryan Andrews to start designing companies. He's going to design our characters and start helping us. It's like, let's get something up quick, that look cool. Like, we normally do Star Wars T'Challa, what would that look like? And it was like, that was like so fast. We're like, this one's up as he looks. It's like his guy on the purple coat is going to have the guns are going to have like the gold trim and stuff. It fell into place. So it's like, yes, of course, this is exactly it's going to be an enough piece of art would be up there. Like, speaking of which, I mean, Chadwick is one of the first people of the celebrity voices, the characters that signed on to the show. Like, because we got that script read relatively early too, I think, and he was one of the first people to officially say yes. He was really excited. Just like, oh my gosh, we're so legit now. He takes us. He
won an Emmy for his voiceover.
Yeah, it's posthumously, but I thought he did an amazing job, especially in hindsight, which none of us knew at the time. But he was incredible. And I don't know how many people know, but he's theatrically trained, right? So when he came to do the script stuff, it was more like doing like a play. So when we recorded, we sometimes you do scene readings where you read the other parts of the actors so get this stuff, but we just leave a high go there with scope book, and it's just like, have a scene read. I'm like, okay. But even one of the scene directions read, right, where it's just like, and so T'Challa walks into the room looking cool with lots of swagger, blah, 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 and then maybe boom and says bye. We're like, you're slow. But we got to like read scenes with Chadwick, which is insane.
Was there anything that he brought to T'Challa Star-Lord that was different than T'Challa as Bryan Andrews?
One thing he wanted to do is he wanted to bring more humor. And at first, when we read what he was hoping to do, we were like, oh no, he wanted to be Peter Quill, but he didn't be like T'Challa. But what he was looking for was like a little bit of a hybrid. He was looking for something, and I'm so glad we did this. It was already in his script to a certain degree, but we got to pursue it more. It's like he loved the fact that it was T'Challa without the mantle of the king. It was T'Challa without the weight of all of his people. So it's a little bit more visible personality to come out. And so he loved being able to be a little funny, kind of like a little bit more, just a little bit more of a swashbuckler. And there's stuff that he riffed on that we just can't give into the show. But I wish we could, you know what I mean? Because like there's stuff when he's in the bar at Catraxia, and like someone wants to take a photo. He did all these little side riffs about like not wanting to be photographed in a club. You know what I mean? Like really fun, cool stuff. It's so specific and unique, but it's we have it, but it was awesome.
I mean, it's great. It's immortalized now, and the great Hemi creates are.
Yeah. He wanted to bring that stuff into the new Black Panther too, because we had heard that he was having to try to have meetings with Ryan Coogler and being like, hey man, we gotta get more of like what they did here to the movie, right? Like we gotta do more of this, and we were like, that's amazing. But fates were the stars were aligning to have that happen, of course. But yeah, you can love that character, love that character, man. It was an honor. They brought some swamp in.
Yeah. And speaking of writing, Kirsten, what's it like writing for a character that can only say 3 words? I am Groot.
Surprisingly, it actually comes like easier to me than a character that would be more prose, just because like I don't know, in a lot of my previous work, like I did do a lot of dialogue, and it counts like no dialogue at all, which is also why I think I was one of the picks for this for the show, because like I'd never done a lot of dialogue and stuff, and just more situational. If anything, as we were sort of storyboarding our show, like I feel like the executive had to be like, "Can you put some more Am Groots in there?" Because there's like no dialogue at all. And I'm like, "Oh yeah," but it's fun, yeah. Like when we kind of convert everything to scripts. I mean, I sort of have an idea when it's in the board phase, but then once we convert scripts, like we do translate all of the Am Groots to be words. Should be like what the English translation would be, just like I guess Dave Scott does in his scripts. So that's always fun and helpful and like informs the record. So like when we got to record with Diesel, it really is. I mean, people are like, "Oh, how far could it be?" It's like to the same line, but like every take really is a totally different line, and there's like a really specific read on that. Get what he's saying and he's going for. So yeah, non-Indian is headed.
And speaking of it, when you recorded, you also did a lot of the efforts and the laughs, and so everything you hear in there is good.
So yeah, it's all pretty much in it. I know he came in. We had an unbelievable record. I think it's still probably my favorite record of the whole show because he was just like in a great mood. I mean, it's his like character. The show is all about this character. So he just like nailed it. I was like, this guy is, he's really good. It's like really impressive.
Bryan, can you talk to us about the look of What If? Because it's a very specific look to the show, and how did that come about?
Early on, we were trying to toy around with like possible ideas and like, do we make it look comic booky, and do we make it look straight up like Kirby, or any of the great artists that have drawn Marvel comics before. And then there was also the notion of like, do we have each episode be a art style? We started realizing that would be like a production nightmare and like totally hard to do with how quickly they wanted to get it all. So one house style. What if we want our animated version, something that we were still play. And I've always been loved and fascinated with Jason Langdecker, great American illustrator. 20th century. Everyone is familiar with Norman Rockwell, but Langdecker was the guy who was doing that before Norman Rockwell. Basically, that's just stole his job. Like worshiping him as a kid, trained really hard, and like stole his job. It's good. Kind of douchey. But anyways, he still gave him total props. But he had such an impact on American culture at the time, like Santa Claus, as we know him, and like Thanksgiving and all these other traffics. He invented those in advertisements back in like the T10s and stuff. Just incredible stuff. And the artwork is just incredible. And everyone he draws women and men, everyone looks so iconic and so, in a way, glorified and something. There's something about it that I always thought, I want to see that move. And apparently Hollywood's been trying to do this forever too, like make something of it. It's like his style and made it off that. So, and Ryan Meriden, who was like the head of visual development for Marvel, is amazing. He also worshipped at the altar of Jason Langdecker, which is like, I'm so in. So we showed some of his the artwork of Langdecker to the execs. We're like, and the show could look like this, maybe. And Kim was like, if it looks like that, I mean, we're doing it. And so then it had to translate it. How do we can't fully do it because we have the time and money. So what's the version that's a few steps down from like full Langdecker that we can. So I went through the Ryan Reynolds genius translation process, and we started stumbling on what we finally see, and which I think looks pretty cool and looks a little different than what some of the stuff in South Africa is today. So it kind of has its own kind of. It's a light.
Yeah. You mentioned the other day there was really specific lighting that is involved. What if you talked a little bit about that?
Yeah. They have often like certain amount of like rim, like to illustrate the form. So we might have like dominant rim on one side and a secondary rim on the other side that's a little bit lesser to the colors. Similar to that. So that's kind of like a standard thing. Like the manner we teach the vendors, like this, how we do it, guys. But also we wanted to do something lighting wise throughout the show because we thought it might help us also production-wise, but also it's, cost-effective. We would to lean a little bit more into like the noir sensibility. Noir became a thing because films were becoming expensive to produce. They wanted to get a lot out of it fast. So like, why don't we like build less sets because we can't afford them, and turn off more lights so you can see that we don't have sets, right? And then we get the noir look that you're all familiar with, like Frank Miller does that to death. I keep those comics. But back in the 30s and the 40s, it became a thing because they'd be like, we don't have the money, but it became this beautiful look, right? And even Roger Deakins today, he'll say the same thing when it comes to lighting. He's just like, turn off more lights. Like to make films all cinematic and beautiful, it's like stop lighting. So we took that to heart because we figured if you can't see back there, maybe you don't need to paint back there. Maybe we can like do things a little bit quicker or take the edge off the poor bedrooms. How many shots are in this show? 600. Oh my God! How many pictures meetings? Oh my God! So if we figure if we drop some lights, yeah. But it looks cool.
It looks great. Can you talk about the Watcher book? Because he looks different than the Watcher that we've seen in the comics.
Yeah, I think early on there was a discussion to not do the big white man baby, a little as Brad likes to call it. Because they want to get away from that a little bit, And we were thinking of voices for the Watcher. It's like both me and Nick have the same thoughts. Like they gave us a list of all of these like English actors, white, and I was I don't know, and like I was thinking Jeffrey Wright would get it, because his voice is so like silky smooth, like I don't know, his voice is so amazing. Like if like a single malt Scotch could talk, I think it would sound like Jeffrey Wright. I think. So now whenever I'm having a drink, I just imagine Jeffrey Wright like, tasty. You are. So we were thinking the same thing, and Brad was in the same mind, so we wanted to just have a little bit different. When we ran the cosplay thing, he's just like, hell's yeah. Because we also didn't want to do what was done in the movies, because there's those guys that show up at that one of the King movies.
Oh, the Guardians too.
Guardians too. We're like, no. So Ryan started messing with some stuff in relatively short order with just a few variations. We found a little guy. David Johnson, Jeffrey Ryder for his choice also said yes. Partially because his son is like a huge fan and knows like his encyclopedic knowledge is like amazing. He's like, Dad, you're gonna be doing a Marvel thing? He's like, I don't know, son, maybe when we take a look at this thing. He's like, yes! You have to do this thing, but watch this thing. Like, he's like, okay, something else. So he came over to the meeting and he brought his son with him too, so he could see all of that so real and stuff and the art of the wall. It's funny because Jeffrey Wright was just like, so this guy, is he gonna be scrappy at all? Because I'm getting back in shape. You know something? Not doing best. You're gonna throw it down City Pilot. Because get back at like bots and like, I got you, Kevin. It was great, but he loved it. He loves the character, and he brings so much to it.
He is the Watcher.
He is the Watcher. Officially, always the one.
Kirsten, similar question. What was the process like for getting the style of Am?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, from that initial brief, it was always going to be a CD show. It was always photorealistic CG, which at that point, I think that Am Groot was like really the second animated show. We should have about it. So, I think it's kind of cool that they wanted to just diversify the styles, just kind of play with a whole bunch of different things. So it was definitely a very different pipeline than What If, and so we had, some vendors for that. And for me, it's been really exciting because I've actually never directed CG before in this project. Like, I come from the stop motion world. Luckily, I think like the translation wasn't that different. Just I guess the only thing being like you can do everything remotely with the CG production, which I don't like. Because I'm a homebody, and I like that. But yeah, it's kind of like it's sort of a similar language like stop motion to 3D. Like it's still technically all 3D. It's just that one is done at a computer. So I don't know. It's been really fun to develop that and working with an actual vendor. I feel like there's a lot of support there, and there's a whole team of the vendor as well. So like, just getting to develop everything down to like our most minute little asset box, piece of fruit, whatever. But has been very, very exciting and very fun.
Can you talk a little bit about his movements? Because he's such a small guy, and we use a kind of a macro lens on everything. How does that differ from your other projects?
Yeah, the movements were interesting. It's like I found myself, especially at the when we were kind of first finding it with the very become like figuring out the animation style of the show, even just the style of the cameras and everything. Like I kept finding myself being like, bring it lower, like bring the camera down, like he's up but tall. Like we need to be more on even footing with him so that we are there with him as opposed to like looking down on him. So it was kind of like that whole thing. I mean, I've worked with smaller characters before where it was kind of like, that's why I'm kind of like this instinctual, like, okay, they're doing the thing again where the camera's too high, like we need to get down with these characters. And same thing goes for Groot. I mean, at the same time, you also need to communicate the scale the small, so like that was also something that we had to keep in mind. But then in terms of like the animation style, that was also, it's always, you know, a learning curve working with animators to like find what that style is and how do you communicate that. Like I remember us kind of running the gamut in terms of trying to get from little cap where we co-capped everything for our first season just as a starting place, but it ended up being like too fluid, a little too Uncanny Valley. And on the other hand, I remember sending them the reference of like the Turning Red trailer, which I thought before the movie was out, which I thought was like such an amazing example of like this beautiful close to close bearing poppy animation style. And so I think we kind of managed to build that scale to push the comedy, you know, by doing more of like this very, okay, just like hit those money poses, and that's kind of like what you need to sell it. If there's too much movement, the joke is. But like if you can just hit that really funny pose, I feel like it.
Was there anything that surprised you about it once you kind of got into knowing who this is?
As a character?
As a character or things that he does or nuances?
Yeah, I mean, he's it was fun finding him, you know, that sort of happened in the story and word phase. I mean, I think from the beginning, it felt natural, maybe also because I am a career move where I'm like, he's you know, there's that reference which is constantly in my house all the time that I'm dealing with. And you know, kids are like not angels all the time, and not as the same with Groot, where like, you know, as James Gunn said when I had first seen it with him, like he's a mad beneath. We'll forget that he's about the ad movie. So I was like, okay, I can definitely take inspiration from my own life. That's like a child. So yeah, I mean, there was that aspect, and then I also remember sort of having like another thing from Victoria, you know, kind of, you know, looking at a few things we had laid out to be like, maybe we went too mean in, you know, a few scenes that we think we need to pull it back. It's like, I think all of that feedback is really helpful to me. Okay, he needs to be lovable, you know, which I think he is, but he still retains that mischievous side that like we all have.
Little stamp.
The old scamp, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what's the process like working at Marvel Studios compared to other places you've been?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, I feel like I'm the most supportive at Mascot Studio is, you know, I think that's also because it's probably like the biggest budget thing that we worked on, but yeah, I'm so used to treating everything, well, in the past, either all on myself, which it's not sustainable anymore. I'm getting too old for that, can't do like every part of the class, and you know, and then, you know, worked on like indie movies and things as well, and of course those are always like a bit scrappy, so I think just like one of the best things is just like all the support I have. Like I feel like it just makes the work so much enjoyable and so much easier when, you know, you have a business team and you have like tons of great animators that are like, you know, working on the show in all different departments and great production and, you know, getting great notes all the time. Like, I feel like the support has been probably the best. And also I've been like kind of I was surprised at the beginning, like, about the amount of creative freedom that I've gotten in Marvel. Like, you know, I think I expected to sort of be put a little bit more into this like cage where it's like, no, you can't do that. But like, I feel like, especially Brad is like very down with my weird ideas. And that's really so refreshing for me. So I feel like I really do need to express the weirdness that I express in my other work, you know, at Marvel and human shorts.
Similar question to you, Bryan.
Same deal. I mean, it was so supportive. I've worked in other studios where you get weird executron posts that make no sense, and you're just like, what if this is dumb. And I guess I have to do it, but it's totally stupid. And like, who are you anyway? You have a business degree, and why are you giving us a story? I don't understand. So I mean, I cannot stand that garbage, and I've been in it for so long. So when I started working with, Gendy way back on Samurai Jack and stuff, it wasn't that, because Gendy was in charge, because there was a certain executives that greenlight that show that gave him like total autonomy. There's some other weird syndications that would pop up, but for the most part, it's like we did the show that he wanted to do. And the same thing was, especially when it came to fifth season Samurai Jack, was like a total freedom. It's like here's what I do, whatever you want, like, thank God. So it's basically us doing exactly it. That's a whole other level, because there is no at all. The only notes are from ourselves, right? And that is true Shangri-La, and it's also rare. But Marvel, I don't throw in the camp of those bad versions of the stuff, because Kevin is so good at what he does, and love story, no story, Brad, everybody. So their notes are always just grouping things, you know what I mean? So, which is such a treat. It's really great ideas. It's very rare that there's something like, I don't know, guys. I gotta push back a little bit, but usually they have a really good, strong reason why they feel that it needs to be the case. So it's very, like you said, it's very supportive. It's like, we're in it together, guys. Yeah, you're your team trying to make something really cool, and that's great.
Music actually plays a really big part in both of your projects. Bryan, with your project, an amazing score by Laura, and with Am Groot, some great Tito Puente. Can you talk a little bit about thought process of music with several?
We had a lot of fun with our music for Am Groot. Like I mentioned in Korean, because I have like a little bit of a musical background, so I'm super passionate about it, and I think about the musical choices. We were allowed to have a lot of fun with this show in so many ways and like do something really different, so I wanted to do something really different with music. And so we hired Daniela Kumpik to do all of our score, and then also got to put some really fun needle drops in there. My references were trying to think like, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy is like mostly American music from the 60s, 70s. Like Groot is going to be music from the 60s, 70s, but like all over the world. It's like what was happening in Marvel, what was happening in China music, what was happening just everywhere else that's not necessarily the US. And so that kind of helped to inform like, okay, what is this like space vibe version of that 60s, 70s thing? So yeah, there was like a lot of possibility influences and like again, a lot of that early electronic. Like our first cue that's in the first episode is I think it's from like early 60s or late 50s, and it's Raymond Scott was one of the first electronic musicians, like working on computers that were like as big as whole rooms or whatever, to just like make these little bippity boppy kind of sounds that I just like love. So it was really fun to infuse that.
It has that retro space kind of feel.
Yeah.
Bryan, what was it like working with Laura?
She's amazing. Ours is a little bit different because we were ripping off the cinematic universe, so we needed to feel orchestral in that way. But at times, wanted to break out when we could. And Laura was all about that. And she was asking me like, well, what do you like? And like, come on, check it out. Was it's the classic chip horror. Yeah. I'm a nerd for like orchestral film soundtracks, and so we were speaking the same language. And obviously, there's a wealth of stuff that's been generated before movies. So there's a little bit of that going on. But I was kind of like also saying to her, it's like, when we're doing our own themes, like let's make sure they kick ass. Because it was funny too, because that's one thing that I was kind of a little bit disappointed throughout the history of Marvel films. It's like when the first Avengers was coming out, I'm like, darn, I wish we had more like really memorable, recognizable themes for our main heroes. Because you look at Star Wars, like there's such themes that you just, oh my god, you just know it, right? They're so amazing, and you can imagine a film that could pull great themes together. I just felt like, oh man. Now I think they're doing a good job. I think this stuff is really up the notch, which is awesome. Once they got Michael Giacchino working with it, doing more scores and stuff, it's like, yeah, it's so good. So for us, it's like, honor that stuff, but when we got times to do, like a theme for like Peg, or Infinity Ultron or something like that, so it's like, let's go nuts. Like, now that's ours. And then who knows if one of those things ever show up for live action movie, Then they got to go to Laura's school in Fargo. So we're like, yeah. But no, she's a super talent. She's amazing, and for the amount of time and budget that we had on her, she brings a superlative and it's definitely.
And we have season 2 of What If, and you're also working on a little bit of zombie action.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can share with us?
Well, Comic-Con had like a trailer that showed like season 2 stuff. I don't know if any of you guys were at Comic-Con when that was shown, but like nobody was like, "Duh." Sorry, I wish we had it for you guys. But you know, the season finale of season 1 ended with Peggy discovering something in a ship. So the first episode kind of picks up where that one left off, and we see what's in the ship, y'all. So there's some craziness there, and I think in the trailer there was an adventure where we bring in Ebba, and then Kate Blanchett actually came in and totally did it. She's like, incredible, and it's not the hell you expect, because we take some things away from her and like kind of like make her kind of deal with some things she doesn't normally deal with. And just having Kate being able to play the comedy of that in her voice, it's like, I am a regal death queen. Why do I have to deal with this garbage? It's like, she does such a good, she's such a talent, she's amazing. But I think there's a nerve out of that. And the episode's coming up really well. But yeah, I mean, everything else is like, I'm so used to all the ideas. I don't know what I'm allowed to share. It's crazy. But there's some really exciting things, and we go places, we push things in directions maybe you don't necessarily suspect. One of the things is we visit, like, what if a group of Avengers formed in the back of like 1988? Who would be on that team? And it's kind of hilarious. So it might be its own spin-off because the team is pretty eclectic and bizarro, but kind of adorable at the same time. So yeah.
And Kirsten, you have a new batch of shorts coming out soon. Is there anything that you can kind of tease?
I mean, if you like the first batch, I think we're upping it. I feel really good. Second batch, I think we're going to even more fun and even more weird. And then there's also a very fun MCU character cameo.
Very cool. Very cool. Have to see. So in the next round of questions, we're going to do rapid fire questions. So whatever comes to your brain, just say that. We'll start with you, and then we'll go to Bryan. Okay. First question. The favorite animated show or movie you did not work on?
The things that pop into my head are the movie Mind Game by Mascot. Is amazing. Being I heard.
Gosh, I don't know. It would have been nice to work on the original Robotech, maybe, because I love it. Or Gotcha. Movie-wise, I'm always bummed that I always missed working on the cat films because I was always doing the Avengers, right? So either that or Black Panther. I also missed out on Black
Panther. Coffee or tea?
Tea with milk.
Tea, for sure.
Sorry, the answer is actually Red Bull.
Usually not.
You said the wrong answer. I should have said Scotch.
Pixar or Disney animation?
That's really tough. I would probably say like original Disney, like old Disney, because I feel like I came up on that, and it's dark. And I like how it's dark.
I would say Miyazaki.
Oh yeah,
Best cure for writer's block?
just go for a walk, or just do something that is absolutely not related to whatever artistic thing you're working.
Absolutely go for a walk. It came in handy. I was in London, Am Groot action stuff for Avengers 2, and we need to figure out some good stuff for the fight when they were in Korea to remember some Ultrons. I'm like, why do you stick? Why do you stick red? It's so dumb. It's never made it. Okay, so maybe this is good advice. But I was walking back to the place, on the side of the road, there was like this little scooter thing, and it was chained up. Someone would steal it up the biggest, dentist looking chain on this petite little scooter, like little London, little beep beep beep. It was like chain, crowbar, and so they had this fight that I wore with like Cap with the fucking chain. and in front of our the show, like Ultron. And it was fucking cool, and of course it's too much, it's more than they can ever use the movie, so like, I'm like, damn it. But it was a great idea, and it was fun. And if I wasn't taking a walk, I never would have gotten that idea.
Just research it.
Yeah. Early bird or night owl?
Definitely night owl.
Night owl.
Yeah.
Where do you find inspiration?
I find inspiration, it's sort of like the walk thing. Anything that is not related to creation, honestly. It's like I'll go to some weird like art show or like conceptual performance, theatrical thing, like, you know, whatever, some musical thing. Yeah, or just like, I'll go into this craft store, the food store. Just like a store I've never been to. I don't know, like seeing different stuff that has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, same deal. And then I've got folks in their shows. I've got art books, things, and crap, you know, like whatever it is. And like, you know, and I'm so busy working. It's like I don't even get to even just reach out, but just do something as simple as that. So sometimes if I'm just like, I don't know, then I'll like, you know, just pull like scroll through some practice or something that just awesome art that always inspired me when I was young, and be like, oh my god, it's still magic. Put it away, you're like, okay. It's amazing. It's like those wells never run. It's insane. The stuff that inspired you in your youth, it can still inspire you today, no matter how old you are. It's amazing. As well as good stuff. Always.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like like for me, I'm always trying to come up with, okay, what is the new idea? I'm like a different way of doing this. And so I feel like if I just look at existing like animation or something that's like in the same, you know, field of view of that, it's like you're only gonna just repeat that, you know. So I think looking outside of that, like new ideas.
What's your favorite Easter egg from your project?
One that no one, to my knowledge, has found yet. And I'll spoiler right now. I did this film called Pack Stranger a few years ago, and there is a ice cream character hidden on a shelf. Shorts behind it.
Ours just in the Contra episode, there's Darla T'Challa, and he would collect his place with we're gonna put so many things underneath that just jump on us like crazy, and they're like, no! We're gonna have like, because we're like, Disney bought Fox, so we can have like the silhouette of the alien in there, or the Predator, like anything. Yeah. They're like, no, okay. So, but we still snuck a few in. But the thing is, the camera's probably framed in a way where no one would have ever seen it, unfortunately. But they were in there, and like, so when T'Challa runs into the area before he finds the comic spaceship, there's like a TIE fighter in there. There's like a bunch of Star Wars ships like in the background, but I don't think anyone can ever see it. But we drew them and then painted them, and they're in there, and the executives had no idea. Which is a total animation tradition. So if you guys get jobs out there, you're doing your own show, please keep it up, despite corporate overlords. It's better to ask for forgiveness and say sorry than to ask for permission, because they will always say no first, just as a knee-jerk reaction. So just don't even. Just
one of my favorite Easter eggs, I don't know if it's an Easter egg or a recurrent joke, in season 1 is Buggy always has like fish references.
Oh, yes.
And it's actually carried over into other episodes.
Yeah, so our head writer, who often would write the language for Bucky, where she came up with it, I do not know, but she leaned into it heavy. It's just like, that sounds old-timey to me, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to like claim that that's not what she thought, but I guess that's what it is. But they're hilarious, and then when we're recording Sebastian's Stan, he'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, does Bucky has a thing for like fish? I mean, it's funny. I'll totally say it, but it's crazy. And then he would riff on it, and then he'd bring some new ones to the table. You know what I mean? It's like, Sebastian's Stan is pretty hilarious to record. Fun note, can I share? Actors sometimes have a thing that they do to get into that moment, that scene, that harmony, to make sure that the emotion is there, the thing is right. Not all do it, but Sebastian totally does it. So here he is getting ready to say a line, Bucky, like Steve, I got your back, right? Or like, Steve, you're in danger. You know, whatever the line's going to be. Depending on the answer, he's like, fuck! And then you say the line, and we're like, I'm like, ha ha ha! The line's like, I'm like, oh no, the mic, I'm sorry. But he would always have something, he's like, shit! And then he would say the line, I'm like, dude, why is it? He's just like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, you're amazing, I love you so much. Because it's the attitude, you know what I mean? Like you needed to get into that kind of like biting attitude before you did it. So yeah, you just have this expletive. Like you're fucking magic, man.
And Kirsten, one of my favorite Easter eggs, I don't know if anyone's really identified it with, it's on the cheese bag that Groot's eating. There's a little character that I don't think anyone's kind of identified.
What's that from?
I think it's a Bazaki.
Bazaki. You would know on it. I think it was.
Yeah, it's like in Guardians 1, it's when they're all gambling, it's the thing that eats all the world money. So, yeah, no one's really figured that that's out so fast.
I think it's all the cheese bag.
Last rapid fire question. What was the moment you felt most proud of the project?
I think once we were in final minutes and I was seeing public laid out, public, I don't know, where it's like, wow, did this.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I think similar, like when we started getting particular episode is fully up and ready to go. And like, and Kevin and Victoria were just like, you did it. It's just like, oh, like when they're happy with the final project.
Pencils down, no more notes.
And
You're just like,
you're like,
yes.
But I think also their audience reaction.
Yeah.
Like when people are nerding out over the stuff, they're doing those like live watch videos and like just like nerding out over his stuff and like they're reacting to all the right things at the right times. You're like, oh my god, they get it. Oh, we're not crazy. It worked. And I think that's when you really, when the people start getting some ownership. Oh, cosplay. When I see the characters from the show cosplay. And it's funny because when we were designing the show, it's like, I cannot wait to see this cosplay. We know we've made it when someone makes this costume, they come. And I see the things, like even New York Con, like one of our writers was over there, it's like, dude, I saw so many like Peggy's and stuff, and like Captain Carter's and stuff. I'm like, dude, did you see Starlord and Charlie's? And no, it's like, I saw a photo of them, it's online. So I think to me, that personally, just because of that,
Yeah, just like seeing it
for real.
Being in real life. LightBox is an event with, obviously, aspiring artists. What advice would you have for an artist trying to get into the animation business?
Keep going and keep drawing. I've seen with people that think they're ready for the business, but their art totally isn't, and they're deluding themselves. And it's one of the hardest things to try to teach someone to be self-critical in a positive way, not a negative way. Right? It's very important because you can always be like, my stuff's so bad, and then you might never go anywhere. But the thing is to people recognize, like, that doesn't quite look as cool as it did. I'll practice again. And you go for it again, you know what I mean? That self-correction is so important because if you can keep improving and you keep trying, eventually we can get there, you know what I mean? So I would say, like, keep knocking on that door, but also be honest with yourself and keep striving. So if it's something you really want to do, you got to do your share to get you there. You know what I mean? I would say that. It's like don't get down on yourself. Just double down on the work and work hard.
And there's always going to be another hurdle. Like I'm still working at 2%. It's like you're going to keep doing that, or like keep growing as an artist or wall in. So it's like you got to push through that time at the beginning, especially. My advice is similar, which is kind of. It's kind of like the advice coming from like my specific weird path, which is not the normal path, but it's like the path of someone who just like made tons of short films that were really specific and like kind of uniquely my thing. And you just gotta be like the constantly classic working, just like putting work out there essentially. Like always have like a film you were whatever. That's always what I was doing, and that is honing your style. Or your directorial vision or whatever. Like that's just clarifying further to build that portfolio.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like how are you going to look at that to like, oh, I get what you're going for, what your style is. It just makes it clarify that.
It's so true. And there's no one path, it seems, right? Like there's yes, it's like show more files. It's like, I need you, and you get hired. It's like that happens sometimes. But like just like you said, there's no one guaranteed path, and that's okay. In any way, I think it could be freeing, because then if certain doors are being shut down to you because you're going a particular path, you can remember, oh shit, right, there's so many paths, aha! how do I? It's almost like an Ocean's 11 like heist. How am I going to get around the security system and like get this in front of someone's eyes and get the cool job that I love? You know what I mean? And then also there's the one route is like you make your own thing, you know, and try to get your own thing out there, and you become your own boss. There's everything.
Yeah, and like the Ocean's 11 thing, like there was a time where like I thought my whole goal, like straight out of school, was to work at LightBox, which is a power machine company at Portland. Like I was like, this is what I need to do. This like I need to join that, kind of get in there and be like pouring, dipping time together, like looking at anything, and then. Yeah, like an Ocean's 11 thing, everyone trying to get in that building. It's like, I actually needed to be in a whole different building, you know, like that was not the building that was not my ultimate path, and it would not have been the best path for me. So like, what ended up being a failure at that time just led me, you know, down another path that led me to the place I really needed to be that actually better.
I think that's a great point. Sometimes a failure is an opportunity, and sometimes a no is someone else's yes, right? So try not to get dissuaged by that stuff. Because it's life, it happens, it's okay. You know, there's the talk of certain generations who have always had everything handed to them or given to them, so we're not used to no, we're like, I'm entitled. Don't be entitled, right? You're not owed anything in this life. You have to do your best to make your life what it is that you want it to be, right? So that's all I can say.
One nice question. How do you guys balance family life and career?
So hard. I feel fortunate enough that we have childcare, which allows me to have that balance.
Otherwise, it would be.
Yeah.
And also, I think work life versus family. I'm doing my part. I've been telling Brad this since the very beginning. It's like you guys are starting, quote unquote, your own animation studio in a way, de facto. Learn from all the other mistakes, right? Like you have a chance to set your own culture, and at 6 o'clock, you're done. Right? Like, stop with this constant overtime stuff. And like, you know, you hear the horror stories in animation, all that type of stuff, and I've lived it, friends have lived it, you know, just stop. Because the shit will still get done and still have great quality. Why is everyone in such a rush to make it? You know what I mean? So, and hopefully one day it'll totally take me to heart, and then if the studio keeps expanding and we hire like more people, you know, come on over. And we're making more and more stuff, hopefully one day. But hopefully it's the type of thing where it's like, yeah, we can nerd out and work together as a big family, as a big group. But when it's 6 o'clock, go live your life. Because if you're not living your life on the outside, you have nothing to bring to the project you're working on. Sure.
Well, from Marvel Studios, we're very excited and lucky to have you both. Thanks for listening.